General Douglas MacArthur is one of the most notable and controversial military figures America has ever produced. He is remembered today for commanding armed forces in several key wars, rising to the highest rank in the land. But he's also remembered for being fired for insubordination, leading to decades of debate over his proper place in history. MacArthur was born on January 26, 1880 in Little Rock, Arkansas, one of three brothers. His father, Arthur MacArthur Jr., was in the Army and also a general. As a result, young Douglas grew up wherever his father was stationed, raised by both his parents in the ethos of the military lifestyle. MacArthur chose to follow in his father's footsteps. When the time came, he decided to enroll at West Point, graduating in 1903. He served in the Philippines before bouncing around to numerous posts, culminating in action along the Mexican border just prior to the outbreak of World War I. He climbed up the ranks in the Army, and by the end of the war, he was a brigadier general. He served as the superintendent of West Point, where he reformed the curriculum, and in 1930 he finally reached the top, becoming chief of staff of the Army. It didn't go well. MacArthur attracted widespread criticism in 1932 when he spearheaded an attack on a group of World War I veterans who were protesting to receive early payment of a delayed bonus for their service to the country. In a public relations and humanitarian disaster, MacArthur personally accompanied a wave of tanks and soldiers that drove out the veterans using tear gas and bayonets. 55 veterans were wounded in the attack, and a 12-year-old boy died. Though MacArthur had disregarded orders from President Hoover to halt the attack, it was Hoover who took the fall. MacArthur remained the Army Chief of Staff under new President Franklin Roosevelt before finally retiring in 1937. Yet General MacArthur returned in 1941. He led American armed forces in Southeast Asia to defend the Philippines against Japan. Though this army was defeated and captured, MacArthur himself escaped, famously vowing to return, a moment he made sure was caught on camera by the press. It made him an almost untouchable hero, and when the Korean War came along, MacArthur commanded the United Nations forces against North Korea. It would prove to be the end of his career. After North Korea invaded South Korea, MacArthur successfully counterattacked and pushed the North Koreans back to the border at the 38th parallel. President Harry Truman directed him to pause operations while a peace could be negotiated. However, MacArthur wanted to expand the war past Korea and into communist China. Ignoring the president's orders, he attacked, breaking the ceasefire and ending hopes for peace. In response, Truman relieved MacArthur and recalled him to the United States. MacArthur then made his famous speech before Congress, saying,
"That old soldiers never die. They just fade away."
MacArthur hoped to use this as the springboard to become president. Instead, high-ranking Republicans withdrew their support from MacArthur and backed his rival and former subordinate Dwight Eisenhower. Ultimately, Eisenhower would sign a peace treaty nearly identical to what Truman had hoped for, 2 years and millions of deaths later. This cloud still hung over MacArthur when his health began to fail a decade later. On March 2, 1964, General Douglas MacArthur was admitted to the Walter Reed Army Medical Center. He had sought care for abdominal pain and had to have his gallbladder removed, but the gallstones had already caused inflammation in his liver. A cascade of health issues followed. Following surgery for hemorrhaging in his esophagus, he had to have his spleen removed, and then his kidneys began to fail. He underwent a massive blood transfusion, but it wasn't enough. MacArthur fell into a coma when his liver and kidneys failed later that month. He died at 84 years old on April 5, 1964. MacArthur was survived by his wife Jean and his son Arthur, but his lasting legacy is a complex one. Some praise him as a hero who stood up to communist expansion, while others see him as an egotist who sacrificed his own men and risked the future of America itself for personal political gain. They say history will be the judge, but for MacArthur, the verdict is still out. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more grunge videos about world history are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.